All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen?
Hello, everybody.
We are back for our weekly show. Super exciting. This is now 2 weeks in a row I've done a live.
We can say weekly because we've done 2
We're back
weeks.
on
Hell
it.
Yeah.
How are you guys all doing?
Yay for consistency.
Oh, man, I missed it.
Can you hear us okay?
Video check, audio check,
Because we got this
all the checks.
super dope mic.
Quick
Thanks,
plug for
Chris.
Christopher Grant for the awesome gift. See Mr. James Universe, Mark Davis, Punches Resales, Michael's in the house, Nathan. What's up, guys? Where's everyone watching from?
I'm watching from
got a lot
my warehouse.
Our crazy warehouse.
You guys.
We're going to talk about the situations.
Look at the situation that is
This is
happening
actually
in
the
here.
cleaned up version, so it's not that bad. All the shipping's done for the day.
It is. Yeah.
We did almost 3,000 units between yesterday and today, which is bonkers.
That's why I'm tired.
That's why we're all tired. It's not just us, by the way. It's the whole team.
Yeah.
We usually have about four of us on average in here, prepping and shipping. Just hired someone else. She starts on Monday, so I'll be number 5. Technically, we hired your sister Bailey, so that's number 6. And then we're looking to hire one more, so we'll have a crew of 7 in here, which means we don't have to work 12-hour days anymore. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Gretchen! I love that we just did that at the same time.
Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
Gretchen, it's your bedtime. What are you doing?
Those East Coast hours. It's so weird to think it's getting dark right now.
Yeah.
This exact time.
But it's getting darker earlier already. And I know it's
I don't like it.
The end of August. How did this happen, you guys?
Don't like it. Don't like it. James said,
James.
Fire yourself. That is the absolute goal. We're busting our butts on right now.
We are trying.
So pumped.
We're like that like annoying, like a bad penny. We just keep coming back.
It's all in good fun, though. So we're going to talk about the scary parts about scaling, because scaling is awesome and fun and all the good stuff. Love scaling and growing and seeing the bigger numbers, but there's a lot of fear that comes with it in different manners, and each of you are in different parts of your business. We're in different parts of our business. So we'll talk about kind of our situations, what we've gone through, and then love to hear from you guys too in the comment thread. So Should we dive in?
Yeah, let's dive.
All right. Scary parts. Now we could do another video about the pros about all of it, because they far outweigh the scary parts.
Yeah, we're like not being Debbie Downers here.
No,
like we're so uber blessed to be here, especially with everything that's going on with Corona. And if you're an essential worker, you probably never stopped working, but a lot of people got laid off or just fired or, whatever. And I can't help but feel just crazy grateful for where we're at.
Yeah, just e-commerce in general. Anyone who sells on Amazon, eBay, e-commerce. We know several sellers now that sell on Shopify, that sell on Etsy, and that's what they do full time.
Yeah.
And the same scenario there. We're in a crazy position where anything e-commerce related is just increasing and has been for several months. So we're definitely blessed.
Yeah.
To even have the opportunities. I know we all love to complain about Amazon and eBay and policy changes and all this stuff and warehouses being backed up. But at the same time, I don't like to complain too much, because I fully understand that we are given this opportunity to sell on their platforms. They make their money. Trust me, they get their fees, but they give us the opportunity to even do it in the first place, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
There's a lot of days we just stop and look at our life currently. Like, I was a massage therapist full-time working on 6 clients a day. You were in the medical field full-time. Like, that was our life. And then we'd, clock out, go home and just watch Netflix. And then the kids came around, and then the kids took up the time. And now we look at our life. It's like, holy shit, we're actually like, this whole reselling journey is our life now. And it's awesome to be able to even say that.
Yeah.
But with that all fun stuff being said, the scary parts, and this is going to be in different scenarios, So scenario number one that we kind of went through was we built this out of our garage for the first 2 years, just selling on Amazon, a little bit of eBay at the time. And then we outgrew the garage and decided, okay, let's get our first office space. It was 600 square feet, not a big place. You guys, if you've been following the channel and if you've seen the vlogs, you know exactly which space we're talking about.
We couldn't even pay what they wanted for rent. I'll have to find the email sometime, but
we should.
It was just basically like,
I gotta grab this.
Okay. Basically we looked at this warehouse. It was really office space. It was not a warehouse, but it was 600 square feet, and we were like, oh, this is awesome. So
press 2 now.
Is anyone else
doing?
getting bombarded with these hotel stays and
Oh my goodness.
marketing calls?
Off topic much.
Sorry.
Okay.
I have to answer my phone all the time now because
Yeah.
it's usually delivery or logistics stuff. Marketers.
So anyway, we looked at this office building. Long story short, it was going to be like $625 a month, and we said, "Well, we can give
offered
you $400 to
$400.
start," and they took it, which still blows my mind.
Yeah.
But I mean, it goes to show how much we've scaled just in a few years, where $400 was our office budget, and
that was
now,
still stretching it at the time.
Yeah.
That was.
I mean, I feel like we did fine, but we didn't have a lot of consistency with eBay, and our Amazon was hit and miss as far as like buying great products versus not. So like, you know, it was still very scary. It was a scary spot to be in, but like Charles said, we're in a spot now that was kind of the first big growing pain or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. And some of you,
Growth spurt.
we've talked to a lot of people in the last year that have made that jump from their home or their garage into an office space. It doesn't even matter if it's a big office space. It's a huge expense. Just a small office space. Some people are just going into a storage unit. Just that transition can have its own scary stuff that comes with it sometimes. The big one is money.
Yeah.
A lot of these topics are just going to boil down to money. Obviously, if you get an office, you get a warehouse, whatever, you're going to have more expenses than you think. Because, for example, $400 was our first office space. You guys are going to hear a bunch of honking.
That's our UPS driver.
Our UPS guys here to pick up the trailer. They gave us a trailer now, so all of our outbound and inbound, I guess they got bombarded, and I don't know, logistics wise, it didn't work out for them. So they're like, here's a trailer full of your boxes and just load it back up.
Yeah,
we'll pick it up.
Just unload it and load it, and we'll be back.
So that's fun. So when it comes to the money aspect, like you've got to look at, you'll have some type of baseline rent or lease. And for us, it was $400, but then, okay, we had to get internet. That's another $80 to $100 a month. Then you got to look at, depending where you are at, we're in a crazy cheap water and electric town because they have their own center for it.
Yeah.
And so we actually back then it was like $50 a month for water and electric, something super cheap.
Yeah.
So there's all these little added expenses. And then if you end up getting an employee, there's all that overhead you got to worry about too. So just pay attention to that stuff. That's where it gets to be a little scary, because those first few months, it's awesome and fun to get your first little warehouse space or office. But then when you have to start seeing the extra money go out that you're not getting back, that definitely was a wake-up call, scary moment. And then it's going to have that same effect amplified the bigger you get. And this leads us into literally today, like scary.
More money, more problems.
Scary part in our journey right now is, we went through that 600 square foot spot at $400 a month. Then we upgraded 9 months later, and you guys have seen this all in vlogs by now. We upgraded to that other spot, which was our main warehouse for the last 2 years. We were in there almost 2 full years. I don't know. We did finish out our lease. So it was 2 full years. We were inside of there, and that was on paper about 1,800 square feet, but it was that weird split where we had like the little shop. We had a weird upstairs. So truly, it was like 1,000 square feet in the actual warehouse. So it felt a lot smaller than it actually was.
Yeah.
And that one we were paying $15.25. So we're paying $15.25. Still a great rate. Under $1 a square foot per month, which is average about for around here. So we did that for 2 years, and that was definitely a huge upgrade from we ended our other spot. So we started at 400 and the deal was
400
for
to
three
15.
3 months. It was the first 3 months, and then we went up to $600 a month. So we paid that. So going from 600 to now 1,500, big jump. That was all the scares,
All the scary.
all the fears wrapped up in that. And then of course it was a bigger space. We had a little bit higher for electric and water. And then we hired Ryan, who's been with us since then. So we hired Ryan, who came in and helped us out tremendously with the whole eBay side of things, especially my death piles of electronics.
Yeah.
So he came in, and that's another, I don't even know what we were paying back then. It was like another $500 a month to help have him on the team, pretty much almost full time at that point.
Yeah.
And then from there, we got this space, and this space is almost 2,000 square feet, and we're paying $1,800 a month. So still a great rate. And so that was another small jump for us. Now that leads us into today and the point of this conversation.
Today we looked at
another place.
We looked at a really nice spot.
Yeah.
It's got 5
bay
doors, more than anyone would ever need.
Yeah,
we would
it's right
never
next
need
door.
to use all of them.
We can pallet jack all this stuff right next door. So it's double the space, 4,000 square feet. It's actually cheaper per square foot, which is great. It's actually $3,400 a month.
But it's almost double our rent.
It's almost double the rent. And we're at a point in our business. And when I say our business, it's everything. Side Hustle Network is the umbrella. Within that umbrella, we have our reselling part of our business, which is our personal Amazon, eBay account that we sell on. We have our prep center, which is a big part of what you see with the warehouse stuff. So we have all this different stuff going on underneath that umbrella. So we're at a point where, yes, we can afford it. It would definitely cut into margins. And that's where we start to look at, it's $1,500 a month more. What could that $1,500 a month do for now?
That's it.
So that's where we look at, is it worth the extra $1,500 a month boost, and go from there. I caught that one. That's hilarious. I hope you guys heard that. Oh man, our UPS guy, Steve, awesome guy. He told Trista, when your husband's away, you guys tend to get a lot more work in boxes out. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So yeah, it's kind of our scary moment of the day is they don't have an in-between option here. We're in a big plaza with tons of warehouses. They're all full. They have small ones, which are 800 square feet, all the way up to 4,500 square feet is the biggest one. So that's where we're kind of stuck. It's like, do we jump into the one that's a little bigger than we need? We know we'll fill it. So that's where we're leaning towards getting in there. We know we will fill it because we're growing fairly quick, for especially being like a startup baby prep center here. We're growing fairly quick, which is good. And I don't know, we're kind of just stuck at that. So we looked at it. We had the conversations to kind of plan out, if we did this move, what would it look like? All the logistics that go into it. So that's the exciting but terrifying part about scaling your business, which led us into the conversation we wanted to have here, because I know we're not the only ones going through it. Now, you may not be looking at a 4,000 square foot warehouse and going through that fear. Your fear might be completely different. And I was trying to think of the best case way to relate this to the average seller is when you are scaling your Amazon, eBay, or just e-commerce business in general. One of the scariest parts is when you want to grow more, when you want to make more sales and make more profit, you have to spend more money. And that's what this whole conversation ties down to, is the money aspect. So when you, for example, if you are doing $1,000 in sales, you're making a couple $100 net profit at the end of the month, great. But then you start to question, what do I need to do to get to $5,000 a month and to start making, man, that's going to be loud. All right, they're gone. What do I need to do to start making $5,000 a month? And that's typically where you're going to be tied down to the question of how much do I need to spend in more in product to make that $5,000 a month. And of course, we're talking just sales revenue here. So that's where I think it's the scariest part for nearly every seller during the growing phase. Like, it's so exciting to watch those numbers go up, but it's also at the same time so terrifying to see money going out that isn't coming back right away. So for example, the first time that we spent a couple $1,000s on a wholesale deal from one of our liquidators, that was scary because we have Keepa, we have eBay sold history, we have a little bit of data to go by, but nothing is 100% for sure. And so making that first purchase of a couple $1,000 was like, okay, here's $2,000. I know I'm not seeing that back for a little bit. Might be a couple weeks, might be a couple months. I may sit on this stuff for a year, which has happened in some inventory. So that's a very scary aspect to be looking at as a reseller, is to be comfortable spending that much more. And then of course, as you scale, you're just adding more zeros to the deals. Like one of our bigger deals that we did, we spent $10,000. We did a partnership deal with Portland Pickers, so we put up $10,000, and that was hands down one of the scariest purchases. We had a little bit of data to go by, so we knew we wouldn't lose money. We can break even at best, and it was worth the gamble because now we've made at least $8,000 to $10,000 profit each, a partnership deal. So that worked out great. But that first couple months of the inventory not really moving as fast as we wanted it to, that was a very scary moment for both parties. So we were kind of for a moment questioning the whole thing, but it worked out fine in the end. But I think a lot of you guys, you're going to go through that same thing, especially if you're new, getting used to the fact that you're not trading your time for the money anymore. In this business model of reselling, it's all based on your capital. It's leveraging your money. So when you put money out, you don't have to necessarily trade direct time for money. Now, flip side of that is something like the prep center. This is straight time for money doing the prep center work. So instead of leveraging money, like I can buy better equipment, I could buy more shelves, I can buy physical things to help improve workflows. But ultimately, it's leveraging not just our time, it's leveraging other people's time, which is our team, our employees now that help run the whole thing. So real life FBA is in the house, which means we have to start over so we can catch up. What's up, Martin? So the prep center in most jobs are going to be trading your time for money. You show up for 8 hours, you get paid $12 an hour, and then you do that for 2 weeks. Here's your paycheck. You cap out at a certain point doing that, right? And so with this reselling business, when you come from having a traditional time trading for money mentality, and you come into reselling, it's a completely different mindset to wrap your head around as far as, okay, now it's not just work 40 hours, get paid X amount of dollars. It's if I spend $1,000 and put in this much time, what's the best case scenario to get that capital back? And then my ROI, which is my profit. It's a completely different world. So I'm curious to not just talk about our experience, but I want to know more about you guys and the scary parts about everything that you guys are going through too. And if you can relate with the putting up more capital and having that fear wrapped around it. I know personally, I'm talked to a lot of 7-figure and beyond sellers that go through the same types of struggles. It's just more zeros added to the end. So instead of playing around with $10,000 purchases, they're playing around with $100,000 purchases, but they're going through the same type of fears that go with that. Obviously, more money, more risk, for sure. Don't twist my words here, but you guys see where I'm going. It's all kind of relative depending on how much cash you have, the risk involved, the time going into it. We're all going through this. Awesome. Tyson just said started full time. So you'll definitely have some scary moments coming up. Let me jump up here into the comments section. So if you guys have questions, I thought this was a good topic that really isn't talked about a whole lot. And I know we all go through it at some point or another. It's not really one of those things where you ever just get over it. Like you still have fears. You still go through those scary times like that walkthrough of that building we did through today. It's so exciting to think about the idea of not moving this stuff. Like that is terrifying in itself, is to do this move. But once we're in there, it's so exciting to think about the growth potential that we have in there. It's going to be so much more of a smooth process. Instead of running 2 shipments at a time, we can now run 4 shipments at a time. That's all exciting. But the scary part is, okay, now we're going to put up an extra $1,500 a month that it's in rent. Like we're not going to ever own that building. That part is a big hesitation for me because I want to own anything that we're going to be putting more rent into. So that part's a little iffy. I'd love to just dump money and build our own place, something like that. So there's a lot that goes into all this kind of stuff. But I'm curious what your comments, questions, thoughts are in the comments below. Yes, we need to speak to you about your extended warranty. Man, I've been getting hammered with these phone calls. Flip your dollar. I'm in California. Office space, not really an option because of cost. Yes, it's always going to come down to where you live. I know a lot of people in the California and New York area. A little more difficult for you guys to find some cheap warehousing. We're so fortunate that we live in a smaller town and there's tons of warehouses around here, which are all fairly inexpensive. For us, average is about $1 per square foot. So that's kind of where we're hanging out. My arms got a lot bigger. I don't know if they got bigger, but I've definitely been focusing on my diet and fitness a lot more lately. So hopefully starting to lean out. I don't even know how many pounds I'm down now. I allowed myself, of course, just life, growing this thing, working 12-hour days, horrible diet. I let myself get back up to close to 220 pounds again. That was very unhealthy. I was not in a good mental spot, physical health spot, lots of issues. I'm probably closer down to like 205-ish now. So yeah, I feel like $1 million compared to what I did a couple months ago. Yeah, Gretchen, do the math. How much more profit could we push out of there? That's where I'm wrapping my head around too, because I know it's always kind of like scaled, right? Yes, we're going to pay more, but we're also going to be able to make a lot more inside of there. Do I prefer eBay or Amazon more than the other? This has been a debate I've had with myself for a long time. There's benefits to both. And it comes down to, try to think of the right wording for this. If I were to choose one, it would be Amazon for the aspect of efficiency. Like you can take 500 products and put them in Lowe's boxes during a shipment and send them into Amazon. And then you're kind of done with the physical work. Then you just manage the back end stuff. So the efficiency aspect, hands down, Amazon. As far as how much fun I have doing it, it's eBay, because you guys know I love to do the vintage electronics. I'm now getting heavier into retro games. I'm getting into the collector's items. I have so much more fun doing that. I get so much joy out of finding something for $50 that I can sell for 300. Especially when it's a collector's item, I know it's going to the hands of someone who's going to appreciate that. Being a collector myself, I have stacks of retro sealed games I've been stockpiling at the house for a couple months now. So that the fun aspect is definitely eBay, but as far as just scaling and running an efficient business, it's Amazon hands down. All right. So it says Facebook user in the comments. If you guys are on the Facebook group, because we're blasting this out to 2 Facebook groups, you have to give permission to StreamYard in that little post so I can see your name. I do have it pulled up on my phone here. So I don't know who's asking some of these questions, but the question is, and this is a great one, why did we start a prep center? A couple different reasons. One, we have run this YouTube channel. We've run several paid private groups with our members, students, if you will. And we've seen literally hundreds of times where people just had horror stories about these prep centers that lost their inventory. Even down to like, unfortunately, seeing it firsthand in a certain case where product is stolen. So we've heard and seen a lot of the back end of this stuff that happens. Poor communication, 3 to 4 weeks to turn around product and do a shipment, like stuff that is just absurd to even hear. And so we kept hearing it time and time again. And I had a hard time finding prep centers that were reputable, that I could put my name behind and back and say, yes, use these people, use these people. We did it a few times and ultimately got burned. So we decided, you know what? Let's just put out some feelers. This was at the smaller warehouse. We have a little warehouse. We have a couple employees. I have free time. Let's put out some feelers. We took on our first 5 clients out of our members group and decided, let's just do a little bit of prep on the side. And it's just another extension to our side hustles, where it's just like this extra little bit of income that can help cover our overhead, and then let it grow from there. And then referrals started coming in, because it turns out we were doing a pretty damn good job. Excellent communication, fast turnaround time, all that good stuff. And so the referrals started coming in, and then I started doing the numbers. I thought, in our reselling business, on a graph, our Amazon eBay account, yes, we've grown year by year. So on a graph, we have grown, but it's very small, steady growth over time, which it's not bad, but I would love to see much larger numbers being done in our own reselling business. And I knew it could be done if I had access to more capital to put into more product. The reason we didn't have the capital was we were taking so much of our profits out to then pay our warehouse, pay our employees, and then we were also going on a credit card debt freedom kick. So we were taking a lot of profits out to pay all that stuff, which left us with a small amount of capital to then put into more product, hence slow growth over time. So as we started doing a little bit of prep work on the side for some of our members, I started looking at our warehouse rent. And I'm like, okay, if we pay $1,500 a month and the prep center is making $500 a month, why don't we grow the prep center to a point where we can then pay the warehouse and then pay the employees, and then our reselling money can stay growing and reselling. So that's when it kind of clicked for us, is the ability to have the prep center pay our overheads and then use our reselling money to dump back into reselling now and start growing it properly how we wanted to.
Wow. Look at all these comments.
I know we got some peeps on here. We love it. So that's kind of ultimately the beginning of how and why we started the whole prep center gig. It never, ever started as an idea. It's like, let's build a prep center and get a big warehouse. And like, that's our thing. It ultimately just grew to that. We've done zero marketing. We've had just referral after referral. We actually have a wait list of about 200 people right now to get in, which is crazy to even say. So that's how the whole thing kind of evolved and grew to where it's at now. Now, we've still been growing our own businesses on the side. Obviously, Prep Center took over the last 4 months, and we've talked about this several times now. So now it's at a point where the employees are starting to run a lot more of the shipping. So we can take a step back away from the physical prepping and start to put more into content, put more into eBay, our own reselling business again, and do the fun parts of it. That's why we love doing this stuff. It's, for me, the content stuff. I love doing the shows. I love interacting with you guys, helping you guys out, and then doing our own reselling business. That's the fun part. Just going through, doing a little Q&A sesh.
Yeah. Hey, Martin, I saw you in here.
I know he popped in. He's like, I'm here. Please restart.
Let's see.
So that's kind of where we're at with everything and the big scary stuff going on right now. Do we make the jump? Do we not make the jump? If we made the jump, it wouldn't be until October anyways. Like we want to finish out September. We actually have a little, we haven't blasted it at all. It's for our private group. But we're actually doing a little retreat out in Florida next month. So we want to finish that up, a little vacation, come back and just start October strong and just like blinders on, focus, ready for Q4.
Yeah.
So if we did move, it wouldn't be until October anyways.
It's still like, even though it's like a decision that we don't have to make tonight, it's still a big decision to make. So,
yes, this. It says Facebook user who commented this. Let me check. Do you want to cover that?
So hard to go from a constant paycheck to the unknown, but so good so far.
By Tyson.
That is such a true statement. It's like, yeah, that security blanket of a, weekly or bi-weekly paycheck that it's going to be this much, that you can pay your bills and feed your kids, and
I have this much left over for Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, exactly. That's where our priorities really lie, you guys, is Ben and Jerry's.
Ice cream is life, basically. One of the hardest leaps we took was when I quit my job.
Yeah.
And I've told this a few times, but for those that are newer to the channel, everyone watches our older videos and vlogs and thinks I quit my job to then resell. I was self-employed before reselling. So I was actually a massage therapist and trainer. So that was my full-time gig. I was freelance at that point. And I was going through struggles because as a massage therapist, just like with personal trainers, hairstylists, all the trade jobs, you're typically going to have slow months and busy months. So I needed a way to make another income to fill in the gap of the slow months, just to pay our rent and to eat and put gas in our car. So that's when I started looking at reselling, found Amazon FBA, kind of got into it from there. So transitioning out of my stuff as a massage therapist into Amazon wasn't that scary for me. I was making about the same either way, so it wasn't that bad for me. But it wasn't scary for me because if I slacked, and this happened a lot back then, I was a different human. At one point in my life, I would procrastinate everything. I was very lazy. And I knew I could be because
one day
where's this going?
Let's just
one
go.
day.
Let's just go there.
All right, let's go.
One day I left for work and he started Breaking Bad. And I came home from work and he was ending Breaking Bad, like the season.
I watched so much Netflix.
That was my breaking point, I feel like.
Yeah, we had some conversations that night.
This is a special situation.
And that's a perfect example of, as bad as it sounds, I didn't feel bad about it because she'd come home and ask me, like, what did you do today? And I'd be like, oh, I like sourced a few things or like barely did anything really. Yeah. But I knew it was okay because we had your paycheck coming in. So it was like a steady, secure.
Always that comfort.
It was the blanket.
Yeah.
So I knew that was my way of getting off the hook, was like, if I slack, it's okay. We've got her check coming in and that can pay the rent. And I know that's a douchebag thing to say. That's who I was back then. I'm nicer now.
Yeah, you work your booty off.
I'm nicer.
You work way harder than I do.
So that's debatable. You're putting in some hours this week. So
I am yawning a lot at 6:30 with my coffee.
So that's an example of the scary part was when you quit your job.
Yeah.
And then those first couple months where it's like, oh shit, if I'm lazy and procrastinate now, we get zero monies in 2 weeks every other Friday. So that's when it really became a kick in our butt to make this thing work. And let me put this into perspective why we had to hustle and make all of this work in one form or another. We had a 500 credit score and less than $2,000 to our name. Like that whole have 6 months in savings tip that we give, like we didn't have that in the beginning. So that's why we push that so much now, to put yourself in a financial healthy position before you ever think about going full time with self-employment, not just reselling, just any business in general. But yeah, so that the whole going from a paycheck thing to self-employed 100%, very scary jump. We went through it not just with myself, but also with yours. Yours was definitely the scary one because that blanket was now gone.
Yeah.
We had no security.
Yeah. So
we have to find
somebody started in New Jersey with a 5x5 space.
Yes.
That's tiny. I guess I really shouldn't complain about our garage, but
yes.
And moved up to 20x20. Yeah, I mean it's perspective. I'm sure in New Jersey that is not cheap space. Yeah. So yeah.
I will agree with this 1000%. You like the passive part about Amazon. Yes. There is still that part of me that's like, what's the least amount of work I can do to make the most amount of money? Amazon is a ton of work up front, but then it's passive kind of after that. Now I say passive because Amazon's never truly passive unless you have someone doing all the work for you. But Amazon, hands down agree with that. As if I think most people probably would. Do we mainly RA? So I just now started going back on doing retail arbitrage again, like 1 day a week.
We were cold turkey when COVID hit.
Very cold turkey. All the stores went cray around here. I was out.
Lots of like quantity restrictions, like 1 can of soup per family.
I
really
stopped.
Tight around here.
I stopped all RA. Like I would go out and do RA in the aspect of, I'd pick up Nintendo Switch if I saw them in stock somewhere. I'd pick up some of those hype items.
Yeah.
So those type of items I would RA, specifically go in, get my item, get out, but I wasn't going up and down aisles and stuff like that. So we went completely OA and wholesale. And even now, like our best purchases are being made wholesale right now. We have a couple suppliers that kind of are saving our butts from needing to go out and do RA and OA. If needed, I can run out a couple days a week and I can do OA and make a living that way with Amazon. But man, I'm loving the wholesale world right now because we're able to order larger quantities. And, I'm looking at a few SKUs and seeing how many I can go deep and how fast I can move those. Yep. And they're getting shipped here on pallets typically. And then from there, we just send in our batches to Amazon. So I've been absolutely loving that. Yeah. It's literally saved me at least 10 hours a week of going out and doing retail arbitrage by having access to some of these suppliers.
Yep.
This is an awesome question. Do you think you got into your first warehouse too soon or too late looking back? And then the same thing for your second move. Can I just point out, I love these types of questions and topics, which are more logistics, because nobody talks about them on the YouTube world. Even Instagram, I think we all need to have more conversations about logistics than actual like bolos and informational stuff. Like let's face it, guys. There's so much information on YouTube. You don't need more information about reselling. It's all out there for free. You don't need more information about reselling. We need to be looking more about how do we make improvements with our systems.
So I'm in all of these eBay groups for like, or not eBay necessarily, mostly Poshmark, but somebody will like post in the group that they're at a thrift and they'll post a picture of some clothing or shoe. And then they'll be like, it's blah, blah, blah. Would you buy this? And then you got like 50 billion people saying yes or no and why. I think we should do that for Amazon and eBay.
Oh my gosh.
Would you get a new warehouse? Yes or no? Go.
It's all logistics questions.
Yeah.
No, I do think we all need to have more conversations about this stuff, though. I guess we may have different answers. I have no idea. What's your first thought? So for the
first warehouse, we actually, definitely needed it. And we did grow our Amazon business pretty steadily and consistently after we moved. Once we realized like we were capped in our garage, I was taking over with eBay. And so then it was like, we either quit eBay and just do Amazon full time, which maybe that was a mistake, but I don't really feel like it was.
That's the thing. Like you'll
never know. And there's no point in going, well, that was maybe a mistake. Like we learned a bunch of stuff. We're really good at eBay now. And, that's not anything to snuff about. So I think that we definitely needed that warehouse the first time. And then the second time, I'm trying to remember like mentally where we were at with the second move was just, I wanted to start a retail store was kind of the big motivation. And so we did that, learned a lot of stuff, mostly that you shouldn't have a retail store when you have a 3-year-old and you're pregnant. We legit,
don't
do that.
We had Titus. Most of you guys that follow the channel know we have 2 kids. So we had Titus, which is our firstborn.
Yeah.
I was painting a wall in the retail shop we were getting ready to open. And then she comes up behind me and she goes, I think we're going to have to hire an employee to run this in about 9 months. And I started to stand up like, why would we wait 9 months? And then she's holding up the stick. So we opened that shop during your pregnancy.
Yeah.
And then Isla came in May. We had opened that thing.
I got really sick. I get preeclampsia with my children.
Yeah, we're done having babies.
So we're done having babies.
The nurses highly recommended we don't have any more babies.
But it was tough because we had a bigger space that I felt like we needed to justify having. So it was like, we have to have the retail store open. And I needed to be sourcing stuff for the store. And it was a lot. And I feel like we learned a lot of good stuff. I think we probably could have stayed in the space we were in for a little while longer. And that's something to always consider. Like, are you moving forward for good, legitimate reasons? Or are you moving forward because of the flash of it? Like, oh, now I have a bigger warehouse and I have a retail store. And like, those are all good things if the motivation or the motive for moving is all good. Like you're growing your business. You legitimately need those items, or not items, but you legitimately need the space and everything that goes along with it. There's a lot that goes along with having extra space. I just feel like you better be able to back up the reason for it. Yeah. So I feel like maybe the second time we moved was maybe slightly unnecessary, but we wouldn't have had the retail store. And I learned a lot from the retail store.
You learned you don't want to run a retail store.
But I can
if you
always
had
say
an
that
em-
I did it and I tried it and I didn't like it. And not that I didn't like having the retail store. I don't, our location was terrible for retail, first of all. And
we had no foot traffic.
and yeah, I just feel like in a later time in my life when my kids are maybe in grade school and gone all day or something like that. But when you have a 3-year-old running around and you're trying to price clothing with a giant pregnant belly, like it's just, you're like, yeah, the shiny flash of this has worn off and I'm exhausted. So yeah. Anyway,
I actually agree with all that. My tip, if you are in your house or your garage looking to get an office space, the thought is always, when is the right time, right? We've gotten that question 1,000 times. Wait as long as you possibly can. And it's the same tip for quitting your job to then focus on your business. Wait as long as you possibly can. Reinvest every single dollar that you can, because the second you have to start paying up $1,000 or $2,000 a month for a space, that includes, your overhead, employees, all that stuff. The second you have to start doing that, that money no longer can be invested in your products. Like, yes, you're investing in a space and employees to help save you time. Like we were just talking about that, how employees to us, now we view them differently. Mm-hmm. They're investments because by investing in them, we get more time to do the things we want to do and scale the business.
And that's a hard mindset. I'm sure you probably already talked about this while I was outside, but like that's a lot of this is just undoing your thought process or just the way you've been trained to think about money. And I need to do more personal development about money because I'm a tightwad. I'm like, I will hang on to every
it's so true
penny except for I love Starbucks. So I
Starbucks is your one guilty,
yeah.
Like you'll pay up whatever
it's the
it
one
takes.
thing that I pay for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Charles kind of put that to me a while ago. Like, hiring another person isn't an extra expense. It is in the sense that you're paying out extra money, but it's an investment in your time. Are you willing to invest in this person so that you can then have more free time to do the things you want to do or to grow this area of your business? And that's a really hard thing to get around, is the money stuff. And that's, to be honest, real talk from Trista really quick. That's where I'm struggling with this new warehouse move, is that it is an investment in our mental health, because we could make this work. It would be really tough.
Like I feel like we can, when we've talked about this all day, we can cruise and maintain and still grow a little bit in here. Obviously we can always get better shelves and better this and better that and make it more smooth. But I feel like to get to that next level in the business, that's where more space.
And that's where you have to just decide, what are your priorities? Is our priority to move 50,000 units a month? Or is our priority to spend 30 or 40 hours a week working and more time with our kids? You don't get everything unless you're Jeff Bezos, but I don't even know if he gets everything. But
I just saw a clip where he said he sleeps 8 hours a night. It's a priority for him. I was like, dang, I want to sleep 8 hours a night again.
Jeff has that up on me. I do not sleep 8 hours. But yeah, I mean, that got deep real quick. Sorry, guys.
That's what I love about these, though. It's like more conversations about all this stuff needs to happen.
Yeah, the stick. I feel like we're missing.
Button to take these down.
Oh, sorry. You have to scroll up to take those down.
Here's the question of the century we've been getting for the last few weeks. I definitely want you guys to handle my inventory soon as I get to that point. So how long is your waiting list right now? Very, very difficult to give you an exact date of, might be 3 weeks. It might be 3 months. Currently, we don't have an exact time frame for the wait list. We just took on our next batch of almost 30 clients. So we're done. Like our wait list is closed. You can hop on the wait list, but we're closed to new clients for at least another month. We're currently hiring and training new employees. So just depends how quickly they pick up on things, and it depends how quickly we can throw them on the line and trust them enough to do a shipment without us being there all the time. So very difficult to give an exact time frame, but you're happy to shoot us an email and check in every couple of weeks, see where we're at with stuff.
This is a good question. Do you fear continuing to ship with USPS? At this point, we're still shipping normal. We were in a group in one of our groups last night, and somebody brought up a really good point in that if the customer paid up for shipping, or you just sold the item for a high profit margin, or you just want to make sure that the delivery is super smooth, you might consider paying for priority instead of first class. I don't know logistically how that works, but I feel like they probably prioritize priority over US or first class. So we haven't had any like big mess ups though, as far as like shipping eBay stuff out and having people complain to us about late. Okay, we had like one or two actually.
We had couple.
That tapestry thing.
Yes, that one was an issue. That was like 4 days late.
Yeah.
That was an issue. She was pissed. If you're watching this, we're sorry. It wasn't our fault.
It wasn't our fault.
Yeah.
But
I mean, right now
you could just pay up for the priority if that's in your budget.
Yeah.
Or
and we talked about this too, where first class is typically 3 to 5 business days. That's what the customer knows.
Yeah.
Priority is 2 to 3 days. So it also makes them happy to see it show up sooner than they expected with no delays, which could mean a good feedback on your account. So it's kind of a gray area for a lot of people right now. Some people are having huge issues. Some people are not having any issues at all. I think it's just based on region really right now. I'm sure the deeper into Q4 we get, the worse it's going to get. So just take it one day at a time right now.
Mark had a good question, which he said this is off topic, and nothing's ever off topic because we're just kind of like, let's just go live and see what people have to say today. So we never have a big agenda, but when should you guys get your products into Amazon warehouses for Q4? Tomorrow.
Yeah, I personally, and I totally get that too, where he said, I don't want to pay the longer storage fees, but I want to make sure it gets checked in timely. So that's where I personally,
the timely part is an issue.
The timely is going to be my priority. I don't mind having slimmer margins if I know my products are in and selling versus waiting. And I mean, as we get closer to Q4, we're talking a matter of days. If you shipped your products in on Monday, they would be there and checked in within a week or two. But if you shipped in on a Wednesday and they would just hit that right delay, it might not get checked in until January. Like we've seen that happen in previous years without COVID.
And COVID is like, this is a new situation here. Like there aren't any rules because no one's gone through this yet. But we can tell you that all of our normal warehouses that we normally ship to are way backed up.
Yep.
And not only are our clients seeing and feeling that, but we're also feeling that on our own account. And it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that kind of the rule of thumb was like, if you had toys or like pretty much anything you wanted to ship in and be ready for Christmas gifting, you needed to ship by November 1st. Do it before that.
Yeah. So
don't wait that long.
I'm personally shipping a lot of my stuff in right now.
Yeah.
I don't care if I need to pay a few extra bucks and get smaller margins because I know it's going to sell. Right. And then the hope is that if we do end up paying a few dollars extra per item in storage fees, the price is going to come up on a lot of these listings closer to Christmas. So hopefully the price increase can offset that a little bit. I mean, it's all hopes and dreams right now for me. That's what my best case scenario looks like. So ultimately we'll see. And I know it's going to be a different answer for each person. Some people are just going to wait and then they're going to ship in closer to November and then hopefully it gets in there on time.
Yeah. I was gonna just reach out to Flip Your Dollar. I don't know who you are beyond your handle, but he said that he quit his $60K a year job 4 months ago and dove in. It sounds like you're pretty new. Just get in there with like the Facebook groups and, you know, YouTubers and just learn. And dear God, get a repricer. I can't say anymore.
Saves so much time where you don't have to sit down and manually do that anymore.
And yeah, I mean, there's so much to learn, but I'm excited for you. You're in it now. It's
See,
exciting.
we got Mr. Buy Low Sell Hines up in the house. What's up?
Hey.
How's it going, man?
No. Da, da, da.
Yeah, so I think we covered kind of like our current situation. A lot of it just boils down to the money aspect. The more money you have to put up, whether it's a warehouse or more product to grow, those are the scary parts. And I know that all of us go through them. I don't think many people talk about them. But it's stuff we go through. I personally know lots of 7-figure sellers that we've talked about, you know, their level of what they're buying and stuff. And they go through the same types of fears. Obviously a little bigger risk because there's a few more zeros compared to what some of us are doing. Did Chaz just growl? Potentially. Have you all figured, that's a good question. Have you all figured out prioritization of what's next to prep? As far as client, like which client do we work on next? I'm assuming where that's going to. So we've messed around recently with switching that up a bit. We usually ship between 5 and 6 clients a day for the prep center stuff. And obviously that's going to grow because we just took on 30 more. So we're expecting that to grow, but on average about 5 or 6 shipments a day for clients. We've done it a few different ways. Usually in the past, we would start with the biggest shipment first. Some of these have been 800, maybe 900 units for the big ones. And we'd start with them, get it done out of the way, and then hammer out the smaller ones. We ran into an issue where we'd spend all day. And of course, you know, some of you know how prep goes. You can't always expect, and we're dealing with mostly online arbitrage people, which means none of it's coming in nice, neat case packs. And some of it, there's just more time involved with a lot of it. So
I always unpack the boxes full of exploded liquids.
You do get a lot of.
Yesterday, I cleaned
cleaning.
Lube and conditioner.
Yep.
You just never know what your day's going to be.
You never know what it's going to look like. So some of these shipments, because of those types of issues, they would take all day, and then we'd have to unfortunately bump the smaller shipments to the next shipping day. So then on paper, we can say, wow, we got 1 shipment done today.
That's
versus the 6 that we should have
Yeah.
done. So now we're switching it around and testing out what happens if we do the smaller ones first, get those done out of the way, because then on paper we got 5 done versus maybe the 1 bigger one that we can at least start at the end of the shift, so we can get all of them unboxed, get the labels going, and then we can finish it the next day. We're
still tweaking that though, because it sounds good to get all the little ones out of the way and then tackle the big one. But then also at the end of the day, who's left here is these 2 people.
Yeah, for sure.
And so then we're stuck here finishing up that last shipment or pushing it off till the next day. And we hate pushing off.
Yeah. That's
next
why
shipment. So we're working on the schedule because I just feel like it really depends on the client. And our process is that, you know, like we require everyone to have inventory lab. So we're setting up their inventory lab, we're setting up the batch, opening their Airtable, communicating with that client, like all those little steps at the beginning of each shipment do take up some time. So then when you're doing that over and over again, that does eat into the day as well. So I don't know. I feel like we're still growing there.
And the thing too with prep, it's like, I'm sure there's better and more efficient ways to do it all, but I don't think there's one specific set way that is the best. I think it just depends on the type of product you're dealing with too. And the thing with dealing with online arbitrage clients, we never know what's in those boxes half the time. Like sometimes, like we had a shipment today actually that
peanuts on the peanuts.
I know. Sometimes you open the box like, great, it's full of peanuts for a product this big and it's a giant box.
Damn it, Walmart.
Yeah, thanks, Walmart. So yeah, there's some shipments where you unbox them. We did one today that we unboxed it. It was about 60 to 70 units. Literally label, done.
Right.
crazy great shipment to do for
Half
us
hour.
because it took a half hour and it was just done.
Yep.
Other shipments have taken literally 6 to 8 hours to complete because they were 1,000 units, all OA, and all had price stickers that needed heat gun and just took a lot longer than they should have, to only make a few $100s profit after paying employees and all that stuff. It's kind of hit or miss depending on the load that you're going to get in. And that's just kind of the nature of the game when it comes to OA. Wholesale is great because a lot of it's going to be case packed, easier to prep. You know what's coming ahead of time. And we know what's coming with the OA stuff. But, if they ordered 20 different products, 5 units each on their sheet that we have for them, that's all going to show inbound. So it's kind of hard to tell like which one's coming at which time and going from there.
Hey, thanks for the super chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Ray Kiff. How do you pronounce that? For the $4.99 super chat, on average, how many units do you usually buy for the wholesale side? Depends on the deal. The most amount of units, I brought that up earlier with the partnership deal we did with Portland Pickers. We bought out all 2,000 units that they had. That was very deep for us. We've never done a deal like that. It ultimately paid off. We've at least doubled our money.
He had to take me out to sushi and pitch it because he was like, selling me.
It literally was a pitch.
Buying all of this stuff. He's
was
like, babe, so here's some yummy sushi.
Yeah, it was Jake and Erica, and then Jake and I were talking. Because we were doing a warehouse sale when this all went down.
Right.
And so we were talking like, let's take them out to dinner and not tell them ahead of time what's going on. So it's like, hey, babe, you want to go to sushi? So that was a very deep one for us, but the numbers were there. We knew we would make some type of money on that. So ultimately has been the best deal that we've done.
And
other ones, we did good.
I
did a good one. I've done some bad ones, which is why she was hesitant. We'll talk about that in a different episode. But in general, if numbers all check out, my average right now for wholesale stuff, I'm doing test buys if I can, if it's traditional wholesale with a brand or distributor. So I'll order a couple cases and that might be 24 or 36 units. And I'm seeing how fast those move. And then I'll do a larger order of a few hundred if the numbers check out. And the data is there based on my test buy. Now, dealing with liquidators, on the other hand, that's kind of a different level. We've been dealing with some liquidators recently. That just kind of depends on where the numbers are at. And the thing with liquidation, it's not like I can just say, hey, can I buy 24, test them, and then buy more? Like liquidation is kind of like you have a small window of time to decide how many, and then the deal is gone. Right. So there's a lot of times where I'll be like, hey, Tris, I need permission to buy this right now. Like I need 2 pallets of this right now. So typically
we usually talk about big purchases before.
Yeah.
It's not even a husband-wife thing. It's I'm your business partner.
Yeah,
we need to just make sure we're on the same page here.
For sure. But I also have to go home with you. And I don't want you to be too mad.
True. Yeah. So there's that. So everyone should definitely go in business with their spouse. It's so much fun.
That'll be episode 2.0 that we
cover. So we should offer counseling for those people who go into business with each other.
Business spouse counseling.
Like marriage coworker counseling.
That is legit. Course coming soon, or ebook. That's what you should do.
I don't want to hear
an ebook.
I don't want to hear all y'all problems. You keep those to yourself.
So I don't have like a set number. Again, traditional wholesale, small test buy, and then make a decision after that. Liquidation. I mean, recently I bought 400 units of one item, kind of on a whim. Like the numbers are there. 400 may have been too deep. We'll see. Hopefully I'm buying more than usual, hoping that Q4 does very well with them. So I'm expecting faster sales to be happening for this type of item, and at a higher price. I'm sure you never fight. We never fight. It's so funny how the working with your spouse thing, like we should do a whole episode based on this.
I feel like we have.
We had a fight this morning, and then an hour later, like completely fine. It's all communication.
It's communication and not taking everything so personally.
Yeah. That's probably one of the hardest parts that we had to face, like being married and then going into business together, was like, if you had to call me out on something that I was doing wrong and could be better, I'd be like, no, I'm going to do it this way because I thought I can get away with it because you're my wife. But then I put it in terms of like, if I were an employee, I could never talk back to you that way. So then I had to listen, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like there's times where I'm like, hey, can you maybe do it this way? And then you're pissed at me for like an hour and then you do it.
And then I get over it.
It's all communication though.
Yeah.
It really is.
Thanks for the other super chat.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I'll buy tomorrow's coffee.
Yay.
Starbucks addict.
I have to go, but it was nice to see everybody.
Oh, it's
Charles is
already 7.
going
I
to
didn't
continue
realize what
to
time it
answer
was.
questions.
Yeah, I'll hang out for a few, do some questions for y'all. We got done early with shipments today, so
Yay.
I'm going to go pick up my kiddos after this
All right.
and go hang out and play some video games or something. You know, like have somewhat of a normal life aside from prep. That'd be nice. Yeah, thank you for the second super chat. What's your strategy for finding liquidators, suppliers? A couple different ways. So there's two worlds as far as wholesale. You've got wholesale in the terms of you go with a brand or a distributor. Then you've got liquidators, which is kind of like its own version of wholesale, if you will. Now, traditional wholesale, so many different ways to do it. There's a lot of different people here on YouTube that have dropped several different knowledge bombs on that. You can watch Larry, Watch Me Amazon. You can go to Dylan Carter from Aura, all these wholesale guys who have absolutely crushed it. Yeah, she was only mad for an hour. It was a short one today. It was great.
I mean, we've been married for 9 years, so I'm getting better.
So traditional wholesale, and this was brought up by somebody earlier, so this kind of ties in with it. If you're doing OA or RA, one of my favorite methods that we have done some wholesale with, use your OA and RA as a way to test buy for brands. So a couple different ways you can do this. Like you can go through step number 1. You can go through all your past sales over the last year that you've done with OA or RA. Look at those types of products. Look at the brands. If you've done RA, on the back of the box, a lot of times you're going to see distributed by, and then it gives the company information, even down to like sometimes an email, location, all that stuff. And go through and start calling and emailing those brands and find out if they do wholesale accounts. If they don't offer you a wholesale account, maybe because you're an online seller, which is going to be very common, then ask them, okay, that's no problem. Do you have a list of distributors that are approved? Then you have access to some of those distributors, that method. Method number 2 that I haven't done myself, but I know a lot of people have done very well with this. You're going out and doing RA or OA with the purpose of breaking even and buying those products just to see how fast they move. So you're not looking to profit on that. You're just seeing how fast they move so that you can go and access a wholesale supplier and know how much to buy ahead of time. So doing those test buys up front. So that's one way to do it. As far as liquidators, these guys are all over the place. You can go Google it and find 1,000 different ones on Google right now. They're hanging out in all the different Facebook groups, Instagram, their own personal websites. There's so many different ways. It's the typical answer I hate giving, but it's so true. It took us a lot of time and browsing Facebook pages and making connections and building relationships to have the list of suppliers that we do now. And when you go to find these suppliers, my tip is you're not going to get the cream of the crop right away. They don't know you. They don't trust you. And people don't do big business with people they don't trust. So in the beginning, we have actually purchased inventory that was not going to make a lot of profit because I wanted to show them I'm a serious buyer. I want to be here to help make this a winning relationship. A lot of these suppliers, they get discounts from their suppliers. Typically, they're getting truckloads at a time. They get discounts on larger purchases. So if you come in with extra capital to help them make those purchases and help offload some of those slow sellers for them, that builds trust. Then what happens is they might hit you up when they get their next truck in and say, hey, I'm going to post this on my website, but before I do that, here's a list of all the good stuff. Do you want in on some of this? That's where those sweet deals are made. And I'm making a lot of those types of deals right now with people. But it doesn't happen at first, and you've got to build a relationship with a lot of these guys. I'm not saying go spend your money and buy a bunch of bad products, but the point is you've got to get in with them. You got to get in their circle and build that trust first before you're going to get some of those sweet deals. Would you trade labor/help for teaching FBA? I would happily do that because we are shorthanded right now, and I'm tired of working 12-hour days. Yeah, and obviously we know each other on Instagram too. So yeah, shoot me a DM. I'm more than happy to help you out with what you need. This is awesome. Have you ever used tactical arbitrage? Absolutely. We use TA in our daily business. So between our own OA and we've ran on OA leads list service for a couple of years. So yeah, we use TA every single day. Absolutely recommend it. But with that being said, there will be a learning curve. If you're sourcing just from Walmart and Target, which are the two websites people always go to, there's going to be a lot more saturation. So just make sure you're getting in and learning the program and testing it and just giving it some time before you get really good at it. And then next question was, I guess on that same topic, somebody did say we uploaded a video. Yeah. So we haven't done too many TA videos ourselves, but if you go to Chris Grant is like the completely losing my train of thought with that. The expert. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Chris Grant, just look him up on YouTube. Type in, FBA or tactical arbitrage. You'll see Chris Grant pop up. He's awesome. So he has tons of footage on there, tons of videos that shows you how to do it. Where are we located at? We're actually south of Portland, Oregon. So we're about an hour south of Portland, Oregon area. No sales tax here, by the way, which is why we're a huge hub for a lot of prep centers because I guess we don't have a lot of prep centers here. Shockingly, we have a few, but there's no sales tax. So online arbitrage people can send their stuff here with no sales tax. Yeah, our pleasure. Thanks for hopping in here. All right. I think the one last bullet point that I had on here as far as like getting back on topic with the scary part about growing, and this is something that we've dealt with, it's can you handle it? And that's where it just comes down to the type of business you want. Some people have zero desire to run a large scale business for the fear of being able to mentally handle it all. And that's something that we've been through many, many times. Especially recently, we took on this wave of new clients. And all of a sudden, I didn't show you guys earlier, but that trailer that got picked up earlier. So UPS was dropping off about 100 packages a day between UPS and FedEx. So about 100 boxes show up a day, and it's all this stuff back here like client products. And so those show up, they get sorted by name and go up on the client shelf. And when it's time for that client shipment, we pull them down, open the boxes, and do their shipment from there. So we were getting on average about 100 boxes a day. We kind of hit cruise control. Like that was not a problem. We were busting through that by 3 p.m. every day. It was great. Then we brought on the new clients, and all of a sudden 2 days ago, the UPS driver shows up and he's got it's the UPS truck, but it's got its own trailer attached to it. And all of a sudden he shows up and he's like, so corporate doesn't know what to do with you guys, because on top of all the packages coming in, we also our outbound boxes, all the boxes that are finished for FBA, we're putting out 40 to 50 Lowe's boxes a day for these guys to pick up. Some days we would have 3 different UPS trucks here in waves to pick up all these boxes. So he showed up 2 days ago and he was blunt with me. He's like, listen, corporate doesn't know what to do with you guys. So we're going to try this. They load all the packages into the trailer. So we have our own trailer. They drop the trailer here. We're able to unload the packages, sort them. And then he leaves the trailer here all day. He goes and does his route. And then at about 6 p.m., which you guys saw happen tonight, he shows back up and he connects the trailer and takes all the outbounds. So it's a great setup. So now there's cutting out all the extra UPS guys needing to come here. It's a very smooth system, but it's overwhelming. The first day he showed up, and now instead of 100 packages, we had over 200 packages show up. So when we're getting used to 100 a day showing up and 200 show up, and that's only going to go up for Q4, we're expecting it to double, if not triple, the loads coming in every day. That was a little overwhelming. And for a split second, I had that thought of, can I handle this? Can Tristan and I physically and mentally handle the growth that's about to happen? It's more mentally exhausting than I had ever expected it would be. And that is the same for a lot of different sellers going through some of the same things, where you're going through this growth phase and things are happening. And then you're questioning, like, am I good enough to handle this? And that's just where the self-doubt and the fear can kick in. And we've been going through that this week. And then on top of that, in the midst of all the crazy, like we go look at this bigger space and then it's all hitting at once. It can be very overwhelming as you go through the growth phase. But it's all good problems to have. They are problems, but they're good problems to have. We all would rather have too much business to handle and figure out logistics of it than to not have enough business, which right now there's a lot of brick and mortars and restaurants that they're not opening. They shut down during COVID and they're not going to survive. And it's very sad to see that. So no, don't feel bad about being on our wait list. Like, we are here doing this because we thoroughly do enjoy it. There's just times like when these big, massive transitions happen, it's overwhelming. Don't feel bad about being on our wait list. Or I had one client that apologized for sending us units. They had 100+ units show up, more than they thought they would. And then they apologize for, I'm like, no, we're here to this is a partnership. Like, we're here to do your shipment and you are helping us grow because hopefully you're going to pay your invoice on time. It's a win-win partnership that goes on here. And we thoroughly love everything that we're doing. The growth phase is definitely a little overwhelming, but we know it's going to be worth it once we get a bigger team in here. Things are more streamlined, better systems put into place. The second we can cut back to our normal hours and start doing more content here on YouTube, Instagram, I really want to create a bunch of really good stuff coming up this next year. So that's going to allow us the time to do it. And building this prep center for us it's going to be our home base. And at the same time, because this is our home base paying all of our overhead, now our reselling money gets to go back into reselling, and we can scale the way that we know we can. Do you still find time for estate and yard sales? Not so much the last couple months, not because we haven't had time, but because they've just been crap. Like, I've gone to several yard sales, even Goodwills, my normal Goodwill routes. They're not so great right now. And it may be because I'm not going first thing at open like I used to. Typically I'm here helping the team ship for a few hours in the morning, and then I take a break and do my stuff. And then I would go out and do some sourcing. So I'm probably not going at the right time of day, but it's not so much about the time. I can make the time to really do what I want. That's the great part about being self-employed. You can always manipulate your schedule to fit your needs. So I definitely have the freedom to go do that, but it's more so just the many trips I've taken out have just been garbage. So I'd rather spend my time here prepping. That's one way we know we can make money as a business now, is if people are getting prepped and units are getting shipped out, we're making money, they're making money. It's a win-win. But around here, I don't know if it's just the West Coast going on or what, but yeah, it's not been great picking out there lately. Awesome. Yeah, a bunch of people saying that we got this. Yeah, we appreciate that, guys. It's the whole prep center gig. It's been a lot more work and not so much like, yeah, it's physical labor, but it's been a lot more mental work than I ever expected. And it's probably we've done a lot of side hustle stuff. The prep center growth and making this thing work, building the foundation we have now, has been single-handedly the hardest business that we've grown so far. And we're not even a large prep center by any means. We're like, in the prep center world, there's 50,000 square foot warehouses that have 100 employees as a prep center. Like, we're such a baby little center in the whole world of it all. But for us, it definitely, it was a lot more difficult than we expected. Now it's getting to the point of being worth it because things are getting more streamlined and we're saving some of our time now. Is most of the income from prepping or RAOA? I love that question. We've pulled $0 from the prep center for us personally, like us and our personal income. We've pulled $0. We have invested every dollar either back into it or put back into its own savings account to build a cash cushion. Primarily because when we were growing this in the beginning, back in April, when Amazon, FBA, they just kind of closed the doors for a lot of shipping for anything that wasn't essential. Some of you remember that. There was about 2 weeks where all of our clients went to a halt because we had a lot of toy sellers and non-essential categories. And then those 2 weeks, all of a sudden it's like, well, if we're not prepping anything, the business makes no money. So when that happened, that's when we started putting money back away So we're building a nice little emergency fund, if you will, for the prep center, or it gets put back into things that make it better. Like, which way am I at? This is reverse. There we go. So like this cart setup, we have a mobile cart, we have the Dymo, we have the Rollo, we have a second monitor up there. So, and these are mobile now. Now I'm buying these big battery packs that go on there, so there's no wires and cords. So I'm investing back into, like better shelves and better equipment, better supplies. We buy a lot of poly bags, a lot of tape, a lot of bubble wrap, and a lot of boxes. So those are like our 4 biggest expenses right now. So that's kind of what we poured into. We've pulled personally no money out of it. Like it pays for the warehouse, it pays for the employees, it pays for all the business expenses. But us personally, we've pulled $0 out. We will be pulling money out. Don't get me wrong. We're going to cut ourselves some nice paychecks once we're there. But yeah, for now, I'd rather just invest that back in or keep building up the savings account on it. How big of an inventory would you recommend getting a repricer? 200 items typically. So like Dylan Carter, I know he recommends, I want to say 50 SKUs, 100 SKUs, somewhere around there. Basically, when it gets to a point when you are spending more time than you want to, repricing your stuff manually is probably a good time to get a repricer. If you're a smaller seller and you've got 30 different items, it's not hard to sit down for 20 minutes and reprice 30 items. Once you get beyond that, like I got a repricer when I was spending about an hour and a half every Sunday night. I'd sit down and just go through and reprice all my stuff and look at Keepa and do all that. That's when I got a repricer. And now I spend like maybe, I don't even know how much time I spend right now. I probably spend about 30 minutes a week on my repricer stuff. And I'm just going in and make a few adjustments, tweaking, adding things to a different strategy, maybe 30 minutes a week, an hour tops. Like I just did a shipment of 400 units myself. So that I'm going to go through and put on different things. So that's going to take more like an hour to do, but it's saving a ton of time. All right, crew. Well, we still got a bunch of you hanging out here. So thank you for taking time to come on here, spend some time. It is almost semi-time. I just saw that comment. Almost semi-time. We'll get there. But yeah, if you guys have any last minute comments, questions, feel free to drop those below. Hopefully you guys enjoy seeing us back doing some content for you. I think as of now, our live show, these types of just chill, casual live shows we'll be doing with Tristan and I, and then we'll bring on guest speakers and different stuff like that too. I think we're shooting for Thursdays at, like today was 6 o'clock. It's either going to be Thursdays at 5 or 6 o'clock Pacific time, I think is what we're going to be sticking with as far as that goes. Awesome. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate it more than you know. We definitely miss being back here involved with the actual community. And it feels good to be back. Definitely missed it. So if you guys have any questions, I'm now active back in my Instagram inbox for the first time in a while. So you can shoot me a DM on Instagram, which is at The Side Hustle Network, and we can communicate, ask questions, do all that fun stuff there. So thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you are going through the feelings of being overwhelmed, scared, having the fear in, hopefully this video helped clear up that we're all going through it in one way or another. The fears are out there. The scare is real. But it will be okay as long as you just have systems in place, or at least build systems in place that will help you manage growth, that you'll do fine. And I have to remind myself that all the time. We can handle more because I know we have the right systems in place and we're always improving those systems. It feels like on a weekly basis, I'm telling the team like, hey, we've been doing it this way. We're going to start doing it this way. Every single week, there's some type of tweak or adjustment or improvement being made physically and inside of the actual prep itself too. So hang in there. It will be okay. Q4 is coming. So if you don't have systems in place and you're already overwhelmed, get your systems in place now because Q4 is coming. Hopefully you're going to be riding that wave with everyone. So, all right, guys, peace out, crew. As always, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time.